All right, it's the most wonderful time of the year, I would say anyways. It's SJHL playoff time. We are here for SJHL Weekly, of course. My name is Clark Munroe, hosting the show today. A very exciting episode ahead of us as we do break down each and every, the nitty-gritty detail of each and every SJHL playoff matchup. And on top of that, we also are announcing the year-end award winners as well. So this is a big show. This is the show that everybody's been waiting for. This is the show that you're all here to watch. And with me today, beside me, Rory McGouran and Jamie Neugebauer. We're going to be breaking it all down for you throughout the entire show. Plus, we're going to be joined by a special guest from our sponsor, UPL Canada, to break down their involvement in the SJHL playoffs as well, because they are the presenting sponsors of this entire shebang, gentlemen. So it's going to be an exciting episode today. But first, we got to thank our sponsors, and those sponsors include UPL Canada. I don't know if you guys heard, UPL. They're over here. Bourgault, Cantera Seeds, Capital Auto Mall, Chevrolet, Great Western, Nutrien, RBC, Saskatchewan Construction Safety Association, Sask Lotteries, Tourism Saskatchewan, Sask Energy, SGEU, and SGI. Great group of sponsors. A lot of them have, they'll be announced actually, or talked about later in the show as well with the awards sponsors, a lot of those ones that I just mentioned. So stay tuned for that. Jamie and Rory, again, I mentioned they're here, and we have so much to talk about. Guys, it's playoff time. Are you excited?
Yeah. Crazy excited. Four awesome matchups to kick off round one. The league awards winners at the end of the show. This is one of the best shows of the year. I hope people are tuning in, and I can't wait.
You know what? I'm excited for a lot of things, but one thing I'm excited about is the online vitriol, the hatred going on already. The Battlefords team celebrating on Whitney Forum ice with the cup. Last year, I posted that as a picture for a thing today, and I think everybody in Flin Flon was like, that's disgusting. I love it, though. I love it. Everybody's passionate, and the cup.
That's right.
Yes.
Is right there. It's not part of the set, or it is, I guess, part of the set. It's not green screen. It is the cup right there. Rory will not touch it. You can guess why.
Oh, I touched it, yeah.
But Clark and I will be fine touching it.
Sorry, Jacob, I put a finger smudge on it. Jacob's going to have to get in here.
The Cantera Seeds Cup, the defending champions, of course, the Battlefords North Stars, but
says right
boy,
here,
is it up for grabs.
Says right here, all the players' names from last year. Kennedy Schmidt even showed up on the trophy, so good. Awesome. Obviously, last year, Battlefords on an historic run themselves. They put on quite a show, and they performed really well at the Centennial Cup last year as well. So who will be that team this year? We're already starting the hot burning questions. We're already starting. But before we get into the matchups, let's just have an overall look at kind of where we're at right now in terms of the playoffs. Of course, Flin Flon locked up first place early on, guys. They're playing the Kindersley Clippers. Melfort is going to be playing Estevan, and I know there's a lot of fans from both sides that are really curious about that matchup, and we'll get into that and the reasons why. Humboldt and Weyburn, two of the most storied franchises in this entire league. And Battlefords versus Melville, which I think we can all agree is a very intriguing matchup as well for several reasons. And we'll break it all down for you now, because we're here to break down these matchups, and that's why everyone's here today. So let's just get right into it, guys.
Sure.
Should we waste any more time? No.
No.
Let's do the number one, Flin Flon Bombers versus the number 8, Kindersley Clippers. Let's bring up the matchup here. As you can see, Flin Flon finished with a record of 44-9-2-1, while Kindersley 23-26-5-2. You can see the head-to-head matchup. You can see that Flin Flon scored a lot of goals and didn't let up many goals. You can see that Kindersley was about in the neutral area. They let up a few more goals. Their special teams ranks, their leading scorers, Justin Lees, Logan Linklater. Guys, I think this isn't your typical 1 versus 8 series, I would say. I think there's a lot of intrigue in this one. And as we've talked about lots throughout the year, all 8 teams that have made the playoffs, I think have a chance to get some wins in this playoffs. Rory, I'll start with you because I want to go into these teams historically and this season.
Sure.
What can you give me on these two teams?
Yeah, part of my research, again, if I'm wrong, it's happened before, they can correct me. This is the first time these two teams have ever met in the playoffs based off of what I could find going all the way back, into the 80s, basically. But that's really neat. Obviously, congratulations to the Flin Flon Bombers locking up first place. Congratulations to the Kindersley Clippers, new head coach, back into the playoffs, first time since 2019. But if you want to take the season series as important data or take it with a grain of salt, Flin Flon won that series 3-1. They played 2 times in October. Flin Flon 8-2 victorious the first game, 4-3 victorious the second game, then a long layoff until another back-to-back meeting in February where Kindersley won at home 4-3 over the Flin Flon Bombers. That was part of their first 3-game losing streak of the season for Flin Flon. And then the next night, Flin Flon responded, winning 4-2, also had an empty net goal as well, though. So when you look at the last 3 games between these teams in the regular season, basically all 1-goal games. So is this series a lot closer than what a lot are saying as Flin Flon's just going to run away with it as that number 1 team?
Well, so first of all, I think before we get into the pathway for the Kindersley Clippers to shock the world, pull off an upset, we have to put shine on the year that the Flin Flon Bombers had.
Yeah.
We've spent a long time on the show the last little while, fellas, being like, what is going on in Flin Flon? Why can't they figure it out? Yada, yada, yada. The truth of the matter is, look at the season that they had. Record wins, record road wins, record home wins. The Flin Flon Bombers dominated this season if you look at it in its holistic sense. You know, Mike Reagan did an interview with the Flin Flon Bombers media a couple of days ago, and he said, you know what, we've been clinched first overall for a month and a half. A month and a half, and that is a lot for a group of human beings, a group of teenage hockey players, to handle the situation where everybody's got their target on their back and knowing that they won't play a meaningful game until, on Friday coming up here. So give the Bombers a ton of credit. Now, that all being said, that season series, Rory, you just mentioned it. It's been tight. There was that animosity that really clearly galvanized the Kindersley Clippers when they had that very, viral fight, I guess we'll call it, between Logan Falk and Kenneth Marquardt up at the Whitney Forum that was all around bar down and spitting chiclets and everything. It was like old-time hockey and whatever. We don't have to have a referendum about that right now. But the bottom line is this Kindersley Clippers team has a veteran core of guys that haven't really played a lot of playoff hockey together, but they have played a lot of hockey together. I'm thinking about Linklater. I'm thinking about the Hill Big Boys. Obviously they added Brock Mueller. Is it the Brock Mueller Revenge Tour?
That's what I'm hoping for.
Should be fun. But fellas, what is the pathway here for the Clippers to kind of shock the world?
Well, I mean, you look at their last 10 games, both teams identical. 4-5-1.
Right.
Flin Flon and Kindersley over the last 10 games. On the Flin Flon side, can their trade acquisitions come in and play the roles that are going to be needed to play? These are a lot of top players that came in on former teams. They're going to come in. It's different roles now in the Flin Flon Bombers. And was this last month stretch, 10 games specifically, was that more of a matter of them having first place locked up? And you can argue that, well, they're not really meaningful games. You're going up against Humboldt, against Battleford, right? You want to win those games. You want to win every game. You want to have habits set in good ways. But you were locked up first place. You knew it. So, or is there a sign for a little bit of issues? We'll find out in game 1, which makes this series so much more tantalizing than a normal 1-8. It's just with the way Flin Flon's coming in. Kindersley, my thing, their X factor, their best players, their most experienced players need to be their best players. Linklater, Hilbig, Diaz, those guys need to absolutely dominate the game, dominate puck possession. You need to keep Flin Flon away from that power play because Flin Flon has shown over a stretch a little bit of a rough patch of scoring at 5-on-5. But you put them on the power play, they're the best team in the league. They will bury you.
Every special teams category, they're number 1 in the league.
They will bury you on special teams. And then Kindersley, it's guys like Brock Mueller, right? It's guys like Easton Ingles. You got to get secondary scoring step up. So those are my 3 X factors for Kindersley. But once again, they're going to also have to win a game at the Whitney Forum, which I think is the tallest task so far in these playoffs. But it's not as far as a 1-8 as I think many people will look at. Kindersley has some good players that just need to really find that playoff next level, and I'm excited to see if they can.
Yeah, I mean, you know what? Kindersley could have been the 6th team, could have been the 7th team. It wasn't like they just snuck in. Like, we've thought that they were a playoff team for a while. Like, it wasn't a battle between them and somebody who didn't make the playoffs, really. Like, we've had the last number of years, right, where Weyburn kind of, found a way to get in last year and then, got in there and won game 1, by the way, in Battleford. So, again, the Flin Flon Bombers haven't played what we call a meaningful game in a while. But that being said, they still have that roster. They still have Harmon Laserhume in the sticks. Again, we can go through their lineup. They've got a lot of weaponry. It'll be very interesting to see. I'm sure Clayton Jardine has a group of Flin Flon players that Simon Diaz and Nathan DeGraves will take on. So then it's up to the Russ Demos of the world and the Austin Oshovies of the world to handle whoever the second, third unit is for Flin Flon, because that's going to be a real test when the games mean a lot, when the games matter for those younger defensemen. Though those guys have had those minutes, because earlier in the year, DeGraves had the injury issues and Diaz wasn't there. So that'll be the matchup that's most interesting.
Can we put up the matchup graphic just one more time for this series, guys? And the one thing that kind of stands out to me is, again, Flin Flon is number 1 in power play. You mentioned it, number 1 in penalty kill. Very good penalty kill, by the way. Like head and shoulders number 1 penalty kill. This seems like one of those series that if Kindersley can somehow find a way to be extremely effective in its playoff hockey, so limited special teams opportunities that they may get. That could be the difference to me. That's how we'll see the Kindersley Clippers win a game or two. Maybe they shouldn't. If they can capitalize with that 8th place power play and keep Flin Flon down with their 6th place penalty kill, that could be one of those X factors. This series to me seems like one where that could be the bigger X factor than almost any other series in terms of the special teams. Is this one only because Flin Flon's so dominant, but if Kindersley finds a way to beat them in that aspect of the series, could be the difference between Flin Flon losing and winning, Kindersley winning a few games, or could be a quicker series, more or less.
It's to me like there's one thing that it hinges, and then every other conversation happens. The number one, the top thing at the pyramid is, can Cody Jamin be February Cody Jamin, or will he be March Cody Jamin? Because in February, Cody Jamin was wonderful. We talked to Clayton Jardine. He said he reminded him of Justin Close in February. In March, Cody fell off just a little bit. Which Cody Jamin is it? If the Clippers get the elite Cody Jamin, then maybe we have a series. If they don't, then the series is going to be done fast.
Goaltending always has that effect, right? I think they should put Logan Falk and Kenneth Marquardt out to start game 1. Just let them fight at center ice. Get a rematch.
And then those guys can watch the rest of the game.
You got to keep it 5-on-5. That's the biggest thing for me. Cody Jamin, regardless if he's amazing or not, he's going to face 40-plus shots per game. It's who the Flin Flon Bombers are, and he's going to get it early in the Whitney Forum. So he, has to be on his game as well. If it's anything lower than a 9-10 save percentage for me, I don't think so. Just because of how much traffic and pressure Flin Flon puts on opposition goaltenders. You're going to face 40 shots every game from the Flin Flon Bombers, and Jamin has to be good. But I would even lean forward to Kindersley needs to keep this 5-on-5 for 3 or less penalty power plays given to Flin Flon a game. They're going to score 1 on every 3, basically. It's just they're that good.
5-on-5 and first period. And the Clippers have not been good at all this year in the first period. 47 goals for, 64 against for a playoff team. If the Clippers have had all sorts of wild comebacks. They've kind of been the cardiac kids. Spoke to Clayton Jardine a bunch of times this year. He felt like we're too entertaining. That's what he said. Hey, you're not going to come back if you're down 2-3-4-0 in the first period in the Whitney Forum. You're just not.
Now, I'm going to throw a little bit of a teaser out here. And Jamie knows what I'm talking about here, but I had the opportunity yesterday to chat with Cash Arnson, who is now a coach for the Kindersley Clippers. He was a player, now he's a coach. And that's coming out tomorrow, so stay tuned for that, by the way, for the Cantera Seeds Golden Sheaf program. Shout out Cantera Seeds. But he was saying, I asked him basically, let's go back into the players' locker room for you. You've been in there. He's now in the coach's room, but let's go back into the players' room. How are the guys feeling? And he said, we're feeling great. We have a town behind us that's really excited to get back into the playoffs. Our group has been together now for a couple of years. The older guys, like you guys mentioned, the Linklaters, the Hillbigs, have been together for a while. And they feel, because of those results, Rory, that you mentioned earlier, and maybe you can go over those scores again, but they feel like they're not that far off from this Flin Flon team in the Kindersley locker room. And I think that's exciting to me. I look at guys like, we think of the Perlingers, we think of Cale Taylor even, we think of Easton Inglis, like you mentioned. Brock Evans, his first opportunity to really make a stamp on this league, right? Brock Mueller, who has a chance to do this against his former team. But when I say all these names, I look back at the Flin Flon roster, and we talked about how good they are as well. And I think of who their secondary guys are. And, on paper, their secondary guys all have more. A lot of them have more points than a lot of the Kindersley guys, right? Like
threats.
They're threats. You think of Anthony Piccinino, who had such a good year for them, and he's maybe a fourth liner at this point, maybe a third liner. We don't know how they're going to lock down their roster or their lineups come game one. But Cohen Sempt has had a really good year. You know, Adam McNutt on the blue line, like a really good player back there. And Flin Flon is full of these guys, right? And so can Kindersley's second unit, as much as their top guys are so important and crucial, who's going to be the Kindersley Clipper that we look back on after this series if they can pull some stuff off?
Brock Mueller.
And yes, and who's going to be the guy?
Without a doubt.
Right?
I have no other player in my mind. Him going into against his former team, trying to prove him wrong. If he ends up winning this series, helping the Kindersley Clippers, and gets 6 points in 7 games or something like that, Brock Mueller's my X factor. I don't even think it's close.
I love that.
It's a good call.
Yeah.
I mean, who knows?
And, exactly. But Brock Mueller is a great guy, but that's going to be such an important thing to look at is who's going to be that kind of secondary X factor for Kindersley, because we know how good Linklater and Hilbig are going to be.
I also think like there's a way that we talk about this series we just talk about Kindersley like the whole time and fair, like there's a lot to talk about, storylines there. We also have to shout out like Justin Lee's the consistency, and he's playing in his hometown. His last chance as a 20-year-old. Jake, Vockler has been around this league for a long time. It's his last kick at the can at a championship. Noah Houle, it's his last kick at the can. Harmon Laser-Hume, it's his last kick at the can. There's going to be a lot of motivation for this Flin Flon.
100%.
So it's not just Kindersley's the upstarts and Flin Flon's got nothing to prove. Both teams are going to be coming out flying. It's going to be interesting.
It's why it's the most interesting game one out of any of the series, I think.
I like that. That's a good way to put it.
Do you have burning questions for this one?
Yes.
Yeah. So I got
Jamie, let's get into your burning
for each
questions.
of them. Yeah. So the 3 is, will the Flin Flon Bombers be able to rev their engine back to 100% after kind of sitting on cruise control for much of the new year once they'd clinched number 1 overall? The second one is, can Kindersley number 1 Cody Jamin replicate February success to keep the Clippers close in games? I always talk, Rory, when we do broadcasts, right? You do pitch and upset. One is goaltending, 2 is special teams, and then everything else is you follow from there, because if you don't tick those boxes, it's game over for Kindersley, right? And then the third one, how will the Clippers veterans led by Logan Linklater up front, Simon Diaz and DeGraves on the back end handle their first playoff series as a group? Because as veteran as those guys have been, as great servants they've been, they don't have a lot of experience at this level. So how will it go? Yeah, those are my 3 questions.
Yeah, I'll take the first one, and I mean, absolutely they will. That's why I find this series game one so tantalizing. But yeah, I mean, even Carter Anderson is 19-year-old, right? Like he's gonna be fired up. Justin Lees will be fired up. Vockler, everyone, right? Like, they're gonna find their gear again.
Silvestri is off to Bemidji, right?
They're gonna find their gear again. I have no doubt about it. And as for the Kindersley Clippers and the third question there. They're going to be awakened to it very early in the Whitney Foreman playoffs for game one.
They don't have a choice.
It is pretty wild.
They better attack the situation. They better not be overawed by the situation. A couple years ago, we saw the Estevan Bruins in the finals overawed by the situation up at the Whitney.
So we're going to get your predictions on this series, and you have to give me one, Jamie, in a second. But I just wanted to point this out, too. This is the only series that has 2 Coach of the Year candidates. Mike Reagan and Clayton Jardine.
Two great jobs.
Two great jobs. And especially, again, we chat with Cash Aronson the other day, who's now in the coach's room. They're going to have their boys prepped up. So I like you said, game one, I think I'm going to be tuned into this one. No offense to the other 3 games, but this one's going to be a really fun one to watch. Let's start with predictions. Jamie, I'm going to start at the end of the table and come back my way. What do you got?
Do I have to say in how many games?
Yeah.
Or just...
I think so.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah.
Look, there's so much heart on this Kindersley team. I love those boys, but there's just too much depth on Flin Flon. I think Kindersley takes one at the WC Event Center, but I think it's going to be Flin Flon in 5.
5. Rory?
Yeah, there's a reason why I was talking so much about Kindersley at the start of the segment, because at the end of it, I was going to be like, I'm taking Flin Flon in 5. I just think they're too deep. They're too talented right now, and they're going to be back motivated playing hockey that matters.
Yep.
Jeremy Corrigan's tuned in. He just loves your style lately, Rory.
Oh, thanks, Jeremy.
He's our fashion.
Appreciate it.
Yeah,
fashion critic.
This is from Jeremy, this shirt that I'm wearing. So, Jeremy, thank you for
and my current job is from Jeremy.
Yeah, well, I mean, there you go. It's one of those. Jeremy's legacy lives on. I'm going to say, because I'm the contrarian, I'm going to be the contrarian for most of this, and I'm going to say that the the Whitney Forum luck that the Flin Flon Bombers got last year with the Cam Herdlicka goal, I'm going to say Kindersley is going to get the reverse effect of that. Kindersley in 7.
Oh, can you imagine?
I'm doing
that
it.
Would be
That would
crazy.
shake up the landscape.
I'm doing it.
Yeah, it would
Crazy.
shake everything
Now,
up.
I'm saying out front, I'm going to be the contrarian. So I'm just doing it. I'm doing it. Kindersley in 7.
Wild.
All right, let's throw up the schedule for that series, guys, if you don't mind. Of course, games get started Friday, Saturday, all across the league. Then back to Kindersley for Tuesday and Wednesday next week. Friday in Flin Flon, Sunday in Kindersley, Tuesday back in Flin Flon if necessary. Of course, all those last 3 games are if necessary. So cannot wait to get those games going. I'm sure all of the Clippers faithful are excited. I'm sure all of the zoo in Flin Flon is already, I'm sure they're already lined up, honestly. Let's be honest. They're excited up there. They always are. Let's get into our second series now. This one is the 2nd-ranked Melfort Mustangs versus the 7th-ranked Estevan Bruins. 38-14-3-1 for Melfort this season. One of the hottest teams, though, in the back half of the season, and they might be getting healthy. So there's a storyline that we can go in with early on. Estevan, 26, 2-2, very 500. very 500. Yeah. This is a team, though, that we thought we had high expectations for at the beginning of the season, and they could still probably come up with some of that magic as well, depending on, again, who's in their lineup. As you can see with their special teams numbers, Melfort had a very good power play. Estevan was right there. And with penalty kill, Melfort had the 2nd best penalty kill in the league, and Estevan's was actually 10th. So that should be an interesting little storyline as well. Guys, when we think of Melfort and Estevan, first off, Rory, let's get to you. What about their playoff history and their matchups this year?
Last met in 2020 playoffs. Obviously, that was the COVID shutdown. Melfort had a 3-1 series lead in the best of 7 before the season came to an end. So very recent, these two teams played in the playoffs. In the season series, Melfort 4 games to 2. This was one of the teams for either one that played their out-of-division opponent 6 times. So Estevan got Melfort and vice versa. And Melfort 4-2, a 6-5 win for Estevan. The first game, 4-0 for Melfort, 1-0 for Melfort, 3-1 for Estevan, 6-4 for Melfort, 7-4 for Melfort. So there was 2 shutouts there back in December and January for the Melfort Mustangs, but also the Estevan Bruins managed to put up 6 goals in one game, beating them 6-5 in their first meeting. So, 4-2 season series. That's what you need to win a playoff series as well as 4 games, and Melfort did that in the regular season. Yeah, so Jamie, I guess let's now dive into the series, the matchup itself. When you think of this series, I guess what stands out for you to start?
I just want to get the health question kind of out of the way, because I want to talk about the teams and how they play, but we have to mention really both teams right now. Yeah. I don't know, you guys don't know what the lineups for these teams will look like.
I can tell you one thing. One thing is that Keegan Little will not be in game 1 due to his suspension.
Last game.
It's his last game of that suspension, so he will be back for game 2. But that's probably the only thing we for sure know.
Right. Yeah. So we don't know. Like, this is the series where both teams have been really rocked, I think, by injuries lately. I know that was really the big narrative from the Melfort media was that they, how proud Blevins and Ty Sugar were. Their group, given all the adversity and the injuries that they've dealt with, but guys like Clay Sleva, boy, has he stepped up. Aiden Hutchinson, boy, oh boy, has he stepped up. That combination, I love the chemistry between those two guys. They're such a perfect combo. You get the power forward finishing of Hutchinson, you get the speed and the creativity of Clay Sleva, and both those guys are hard-nosed too. So those guys have been in the lineup as much as the other guys around them haven't at times. And then obviously James Venn, he's a machine in the net. So yes, the Mustangs come in as the hottest team statistically, standing-wise, coming into the playoffs. The last time they lost in regulation, fellas, February the 14th. That was at home to the Flin Flon Bombers, a 3-0 loss in the Northern Lights Palace. So the Melfort Mustangs just don't lose. For Estevan, big question marks. Who's going to be their goalie? Is it going to be Cam Herdlicka? Will we see him? We haven't seen him since early February. If not, can Jackson Miller hold that load? We know it's going to be James Venn in net for Melfort, so they love their goaltending situation. I think there's just a ton of question marks just because we don't know who's going to be in the lineup.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at the Melfort Mustangs, I don't see why they wouldn't have their full lineup in. The bigger question mark for me rallies around Estevan and Cam Herdlicka because we haven't seen him in forever.
Yeah.
On the second last game of the year, the Melfort Mustangs, everyone was in. Summers, Duguay, Sleva, Freetmore, Belton, Hutchinson, Olofsson, everyone played.
Except for Ty Thornton.
Ty Thornton, one of them. So one guy, one defenseman out. And then the second game, they dressed a lot of APs. So I think they're just resting. And now they have a full week. So unless someone got hurt in practice, I would expect a full Melfort Mustangs roster. Just guessing.
And last episode, Rory, I think we were talking about this. David Ryu got into a game, but it was back on March 8th, and that was the only one that he got into. So I'm not sure about him, but imagine adding him back in as well. Like that's another name too that we talked about.
It looks like they're going to be very close to full health, and especially this week off in between regular season and playoffs for a guy like James Venn, who's won 9 games in a row. Right, he's played a lot of hockey down the stretch. That's huge for a goaltender just to get that week right, get reset, and now focus it on the playoffs. Cam Herdlicka is the big one for me. I've been a big Jackson Miller fan, since his push here from the holiday break, basically since when Cam's been out. Thrust into action. They didn't really have a backup goaltender to even, force him out of the pipes if he was struggling. It was his net going in every single game, and he brought the Estevan Bruins into the playoffs. But I do think there is a discrepancy between Herdlicka as a 1A and Miller as a 1B. You would like to have Cam Herdlicka back there, and that's the big thing. If Estevan does have them, I think they can give Melfort an absolute run. If they don't, Miller's going to have to play absolutely out of his mind, which you've seen him do in some games throughout this stretch. But bigger question mark for health is on the Estevan Bruins side.
Yeah, and I think the thing for Jackson Miller, we've seen him the last couple of years play better, but better the opposition as well.
Yes.
You think about that series that they had up in Flin Flon that led to the suspensions to Keegan Little and Alex Papasperopoulos, et cetera, et cetera. Those shenanigans are in the past. But in that series, Jackson Miller had a .938 save percentage.
He was unbelievable.
He was terrific. And then a couple of years ago, Jackson Miller beat the Battlefords North Stars, shut them out, in fact, at Affinity Place, when the Battlefords North Stars were the Battlefords North Stars of last season. So, again, when the game is the biggest, Jackson Miller seems to show it. And I also think it's going to be a very interesting coaching matchup. Two very experienced guys between Trevor Blevins and Jason Tatarnic, two guys who've been there, done that. We've seen Jason Tatarnic's teams. Last year, did we think that much about the Bruins going to the playoffs? I don't know, but they pushed the Bombers to 7.
And it was a weird bounce off the boards that settled that series.
And so Jason Tatarnic knows how to turn the screws and get the team going at the right moment. Obviously, the year they hosted the Centennial, they had a stacked roster, but there's no question that they played better hockey once the playoffs began. So it's about peaking at the right time for the Bruins. Mustangs have been playing playoff hockey for a while. They have probably the best D pairing in the league in Leith Olofsson and Chase Freetmore. I'm sure Ilya Chmielewski will be sick of those two guys by the time the series is over. But that'll be a very interesting matchup.
Yeah. I love how you mentioned coaching matchup, because when you go into both of these buildings, this is, a defensive shutdown, in-your-face style, capitalize on opportunities. It's a little bit slower with the ice in Melfort and in Estevan. It's just the way it is. It's a warmer building in both of them. It makes up for a slower game, suiting defensive styles. We've seen Estevan shut teams down and top teams at Affinity Place. We've seen Melfort shut teams down and top teams at the Northern Lights Palace. Everywhere, right? But really at home too. So this, to me, is written out as a low-scoring, defensive, gritty series where the first goal of the game is more important than any series. You look at the Melfort Mustangs, 3 total losses all year when they don't score the first goal of the game. Sorry, when they do score the first goal of the game. Just 3. So when they score the first goal of the game, they don't lose. That's the fewest in the SJHL. 2 total losses when leading after the first. 3 total losses when leading after the second. Estevan's got to get on them early. You got to get that first goal, that second goal, and then play your smothering style, which they can play. Keegan Little, not there for game 1, is going to be a little bit of an impact against them, but once he comes back into game 2, I'm not sure there's a more impactful player that could be put back into a roster through these playoffs, right? But these two buildings are very similar, and the way the teams play in the buildings are similar. So I want to know which thing's going to bend and break first, because I see a low-scoring series that first goals are imperative.
Yeah, I think it's actually a little bit better with Keegan Little's suspension situation that the Bruins don't have home ice advantage, because there's less pressure on their team starting up at 2 at the Northern Lights Palace. Obviously, they want to get a split up there, but there isn't a ton of pressure. They don't to win both, is my point. So they win one, maybe they'd lose the other one. They come back to affinity tied. I think that would be a great scenario for the Estevan Bruins, given that, as I said, they're missing, they're missing their captain, one of the best players in the league, in Keegan Little. I should say as well, statistically speaking, on the faceoff dot this year, obviously Keegan takes a ton of big faceoffs for the Bruins, but Ilya Chmielewski actually has a slightly higher faceoff percentage than Keegan Little. So, Jason Tarnick will turn to Ilya in that situation to take those big faceoffs. And obviously they brought in a guy like Cade Kennedy to take some defensive zone faceoffs too, like that. So, it should be a very, very interesting series. These are two big teams, two experienced coaches. Great points, Roy. It's going to be low scoring.
Every road team, right?
Yeah.
What do they want to do to the team that's higher in the standings? They want to put panic in them.
Yeah.
How do you do that? By winning on the road.
Yeah.
No home team has panic until you lose at home, because you can't lose a series until you lose at home.
Yeah.
That's the goal for Estevan. You got to steal one of those first two in Melfort.
Yeah, exactly. And, one of the things, again, you guys have talked about it, but there's some health questions about Zach Burfoot, another player who's very important for the Estevan Bruins. I know he came back at the end of the season, but then he also missed a game as well. So I don't know how his health status is going to be. With Keegan Little out, could we see Felix Allard as a forward for game one? Just throw him out there, which could be something to watch, because they do have a group of defensemen who can fill in. They have more than 6 defensemen, and they're not as healthy up front. Felix Allard played the last, 4 games as a forward?
Great.
Yeah, he looked really good.
He went back and forth.
Yeah.
I mean, at Affinity Place against Notre Dame, he played both D and forward in the game. But,
But just a little mini storyline to keep an eye on. Felix Allard could line up. I think he was playing first line right wing for the last few games of the season. So
he's a good player.
Keep an eye on it.
You guys want my burning questions here?
Yes, burning questions. Yes.
All right, burning questions. How healthy are these two teams?
Yeah.
Talked about that. We don't know. Assuming Ilya Chmielewski gets a steady dose, Friedmore and Olofsson, where will Estevan's secondary scoring come from?
Right.
Rain Hodge, this is your moment, etc. Especially against a red-hot James Venn in net. Boy, has that guy been good. 9 wins in a row in the net for him. Not too bad. And the last question is, who will Estevan match up against Clay Sleva and Aiden Hutchinson and whoever their winger is? Or whoever's between them, doesn't really matter. Trevor Blevins moves things around, but those two guys have been together pretty much consistently since they got Clay Sleva. Is it going to be Rybinski? Is it going to be Blake Heward? Who's going to get that matchup? It's going to be a very important matchup for the Estevan Bruins, especially the first 2 games when they don't have last change.
Yeah, for sure. Rory, do you want to touch on any of those?
Yeah, the secondary scoring. I mean, Owen Barrow, right?
Barrow.
Owen Barrow is
just committed to Anna Maria.
He is a beast in playoffs. We've seen him do it in years past. Owen Barrow's got to be that guy,
and
right?
Zach Burns, guy who is Centennial Cup experience.
I was going to say Owen Barrow as well, and I'm just wondering who will shut him down physically.
Yeah.
I think Owen Barrow
He's got to play that way.
He's got to play that way.
Be his best power forward, playoff physical self, really wearing down, because that's how you can get to Melfort's elite defensemen, is if you're pounding them along the back wall and they're checking around their shoulders when they're getting the puck. That's how they're going to make mistakes. And Owen Barrow needs to be that kind of catalyst in order to do that.
Yeah. And I think Cade Kennedy with 15 goals on the year is another good person for that. But that's definitely a good one. How are we feeling about predictions? We ready?
I'm ready.
All right. Well, Rory, let's start with you this time. Predictions for Melfort versus Estevan.
There's too much health uncertainty on the Estevan side, and already missing their captain for game 1 is going to set them behind Melfort in 6. I do think Estevan wins a game in Melfort. I also think Melfort can steal a game in Estevan, and then it kind of goes home.
Sure.
Back until Melfort wins in 6.
Nugsy?
I think there's a lot of recent experience on this Estevan team. I think Jason Tatarnic is best at coaching when everybody doubts him and everybody doubts his team. I think it's going to be a long series. It's going to be a grinding series. I think we're going to have some overtimes. I'm going to take Estevan in 7.
There you go. There you go. And I'll go now. There's not really a contrarian option here for me because you guys split.
Sorry, Clark.
So I'm gonna say I think, like Rory said, Melfort. I think the health is going to be the biggest factor, and if they can be healthy, I'm going to say Melfort in 6 as well. I just think that they have such a strong team. They finished the season so well, and they are statistically and also just on the eye test the hottest team going into the playoffs. Oh, do we have?
Well, I was going to say, there is a poll right now on
the
SJHL.
website.
So if we just want to kind of refer to what the fans are thinking, 69% has the Melfort Mustangs winning this series.
Nice.
31% Estevan. And back to the first series, because we forgot to mention it, Flin Flon, 75%. Kindersley, 25% of the votes, though, think their 8 seed is going to pull up an upset. And you can vote on that right now, too, on SJHL.ca.
Right at the bottom of the website. So just scroll down. It's right there for you. So let's have a look at the schedule here for this series. Again, all the days, I believe, are the exact same. Friday, Saturday, of course, this weekend, we'll kick it off in Melfort. Estevan will get games 3 and 4 on Tuesday and Wednesday. Nugsy, you are going to be in town for that one, right?
Sir.
You're calling those games. All of the games?
I'm calling all the games.
All of them.
I'm calling the home games on Flow Hockey, the home games for Estevan, I should say, and the road games will
For
be
their
on Country
radio
106,
broadcast.
so,
There you go. Friday, March 29th, back in Melfort for Game 5. If necessary, Game 6. Now, I'm just going to put a disclaimer out there for this Game 6 time.
Yeah, we don't know.
We don't know. It might be 4, it might be 6,
We'll
might
find
be
out.
7. Just, you'll know by the time the
It's
game
Easter
is coming
Sunday.
up. Yeah.
So keep that in mind.
So just keep an eye on that. That will be announced and confirmed and clarified as we go. Just so you know, it says 4, it's probably 4. We'll go with that. And then Game 7 was on that on the Tuesday there. Jeremy Corrigan saying $20 gets you a seat, but you're only going to need the edge because it's the SJHL playoffs only on Flow Hockey. Yes, yes. Jeremy knows he's still promoting. He's
Two-time Estevan Bruins broadcaster as well.
yeah,
right.
Two-time. All right.
Yeah.
We got to get into the next series here.
Yep.
It is the number 3 Humboldt Broncos versus the number 6 Weyburn Red Wings. 2 of the most storied and winning franchises in this league's history. And we have a little animation, actually. So if we can actually just bring that up as we start talking about it. Just in a second. Not yet. Hold on. As you can see, Humboldt very good on the power play. Weyburn very good on the power play. These teams, Humboldt had the 3-1 series advantage this season. And Rory, as the video is playing, I'll get you to go into these two teams' histories together. Spencer Bell, one of the best players in the league. Jerome Maharaj, I think maybe if we talk about surprises of the year or like storyline players of the year, I think Jerome Maharaj is probably in that conversation. Just because not that he came out of nowhere.
Superstar.
Not that he came out of nowhere, but he had a great season. And, he's a new addition to the league. So really nice player for Weyburn. So let's play that video now as we get into this. These two teams have a really long history against each other. As you can see, this is the history of the SJHL by Stephen Wilson. Shout out to Stephen Wilson.
This is cool.
And obviously, the league had a lot of teams coming in and out. You see some teams that aren't even in this league anymore, of course. You see Moose Jaw, you see Regina, you see Prince Albert, Swift Current. Those teams aren't even in this league anymore. The Saskatoon Olympics, everybody.
Yeah.
They are not a team either. So as the seasons go along here, you can see Weyburn and Humboldt just start to pull away. Into the 90s, these teams were absolutely dominant. Into the early 2000s, these teams were absolutely dominant. And you see teams like Melville, Estevan, Yorkton kind of creeping up there. Battleford's creeping up. Nipawin sneaking in. And then you'll notice eventually Larange sneaks in there because they just came into the league around this time. Yeah. Actually, no, even later on, didn't they? So Larange does sneak in there. Flin Flon, surprisingly, Flin Flon isn't higher. They've been around for a long time.
Well, they were just joined the SJ.
Yeah, they were out for a while. They came back in, I think. Kindersley is now showing up. But as you can see, again, these two teams that we're about to talk about never left the top.
No.
Never once did they leave the top of this. As you can see, coming up in 2020 here, it pauses for a sec. Did anything happen in 2020? I can't remember.
No.
No. And then Larange, as you can see, kind of sneaks up at the end there. So these two teams, again, the most storied franchises. Rory, let's talk about it.
Yeah.
How have these two teams match up historically?
That was really cool. Thanks for
Stephen Wilson, shout out.
1,787 total wins, taking on 1,675 total wins.
If you would have said
really cool.
Early 2000s, let's say 2004 or 5, if you would have said these two teams are matching up, we all would have said, oh, it's the finals, right? No, this is round 1. So anyways, I just thought that was really interesting.
Brockman versus McMillan, I'm sure you
3-1.
had some matchups.
Yeah.
3-1 season series for the Humboldt Broncos. They defeated Weyburn 10-1 in October, 8-6 in November. Weyburn got their lone win in December 15th, 5-4 in Humboldt. And then Broncos went into Weyburn and won 3-2. So a blowout to start, and then a 2-goal game, a 1-goal game, and a 1-goal game. But Humboldt gets on top 3-1 as the season series. Last 10 games between these two teams played as well, identical. Both teams 7-3 in their last 10 games. I want to get into a little bit about that later because I think they're a much different sort of test in the last 10 games for these two teams. But there you go. Yeah, Broncos with a 3-1 series lead, but a lot of those games are close.
So, Jamie, I'm going to kick it off with you, but I'm going to start it off for you. Okay. I'm going to say the number 1 headline storyline going into this series is the goaltending duo, the duel. Yeah. Benjamin Motu versus Daza Mitchell, 2 of the top goalies, if not 2 of the... Daza did get a goalie nomination for goalie of the year.
Yeah.
Benjamin Motu did not, but probably could have. He was probably like the 4th, very close 4th in that race, or should have been. But I would say that's probably the number one storyline going into this.
I'd say that's 1A or 1B.
1A, 1B.
You know,
Nice
talk about
goalie
the
reference
goalies. You got the let's look at their stats in February and March. Daza, and you know, we'll also have to shout out Angelo Zoll, who did a terrific job as the 1B in Weyburn. I know they're super high on him, and for good reason. And the Weyburn Red Wings did a really nice job kind of finding him and allowing it to be a situation where Daza didn't have to play every night. So of all the number one goalies in the league, maybe outside of Harman, Laser, Hume, Daza's got to be coming to this playoffs relatively fresh because they gave Angelo Zoll all those times. Obviously, Daza did have some injury situations going on too, but here are his numbers in February and March. A 5-1 record, a 164 goals against average, and a 956 save percentage for Daza Mitchell for a month and a half.
Very good.
That's very good. Ben Motu, big save. Ben got his D1 commit as well, of course, to Air Force Academy. 11-3 over that same span, so a lot more games for Ben. But a 920 save percentage and a 266 goals against. You know, but lately again, he's been ridiculous as Ben Motu. So great call, Clark. The goalie matchup has been wonderful. This is the 1B or 1A, whatever one you like, is the penalty situation.
Yeah.
These two teams are just in the box all night long. That might tighten up, but the Weyburn Red Wings had 385 minor penalties this season, most in the league, most by a playoff team by 22. The second most minors in the league by a playoff team.
It's Humboldt.
The Humboldt Broncos.
They were destined for each other.
363 minors. So these two teams, you know, and we watched those highlights between Humboldt and Weyburn. A lot of them were either on power plays or when power plays were just over. It'll be interesting to see how much more they can play 5-on-5. Obviously, both teams have incredible power plays.
Mm-hmm.
The Weyburn Red Wings, I think the only special team statistic that the Flin Flon Bombers aren't number one, I think, is one of either the home or the road power play. I think it's Weyburn has the number one home power play in the SJHL. So the Weyburn Red Wings can score with the man advantage. So the Broncos got to stay out of that. 5-on-5, do I give the Broncos the edge? Sure I do, but who knows what kind of series we're going to see.
Yeah, they have the most 5-on-5 goals in the league, more than Flin Flon, more than Battleford's. Humboldt is number one in even strength goals when you take away power play and time and shorthanded.
And that's what I was going to say is I think my biggest storyline throughout the year for Humboldt has just been how balanced their lineup is. Any one of those lines could be a number one line, I think, on that team at any given night. Depending on how you look at it. But Rory, when you think of Humboldt, and I know you think of them a lot. When you think of the Humboldt Broncos this year, I guess what are some of the storylines for you going into this playoff series?
It's who is battle tested.
Yeah.
Right? The Humboldt Broncos are miles more battle tested than the Weyburn Red Wings right now, and I think they could use that as a huge advantage. The Broncos have played 24 of their last 29 games of the season, going back to the holiday break against playoff teams. 5 times since December that they played the 4 teams below the playoff line.
Yeah.
Right? Weyburn has only played 4 games in their last 29 games since the holiday break against the top 4 teams.
Right.
They have played Yorkton 5 times, Nipawin 5 times, right? So they are playing playoff-style hockey in order to pass those teams and get into the playoffs, but they were basically done against Melfort, Humboldt, Flin Flon, and Battlefords. So how battle-tested are the Weyburn Red Wings is my burning question to you, because in those 4 games, they were 0-4. Yeah. Against the top teams, they have not been great this year. They've done what they needed to do against other teams, whereas Humboldt, in order to clinch third, they had to beat Battlefords 3 times, Flin Flon 3 times, Melville twice, Melfort twice. That's the Humboldt Broncos that's coming in winning 13 of the last 15 games against those teams. Yeah. So it's just, I think, is the beginning of the series. Can Humboldt catch Weyburn off guard, where Weyburn now looks, whoa, right? We haven't faced this in a while. Right, and Humboldt can maybe take that early lead until Weyburn gets up to that speed, because Humboldt's been playing those teams that are playing with it.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's very interesting. You think back to the first round last year for Humboldt, they took the Nipawin Hawks. I think it was kind of a very similar situation for a kind of scrappy Nipawin Hawks team. Came into the playoffs and we're like, whoa, the speed we have to play against this Humboldt team is another level. And obviously the Hawks were able to settle into that series and make it an interesting one. But at the very beginning, you remember, Rory, you called those games. Yeah. The Nipawin Hawks were not ready for the pace that the Humboldt Broncos could play at. We'll see. I mean, Cody Mapes doesn't have a young team anymore. That is a veteran Weyburn Red Wings team. They brought in Matthew Hodson, who's added a lot of depth to that lineup. Throughout a lot of the year, I said, is this team, going to live by the Maharaj Ruthven, Mikkel-John line and die by it, because that's no way to live once you get to the playoffs. But Hodgson and Manette together with Legranger over there as well on that line have added a little bit of depth to this Weyburn team. Something says, especially since Daza is fresh, something to me says, again, I'm not saying Weyburn's the favorite, but I do think it's going to be a harder series than we just think. It's going to be a tough series, and it could go either way for me, especially because you guys know I'm such a huge Daza Mitchell fan, and he is fresh.
Weyburn plays a physical brand of hockey, right? It will suit for playoffs if they stay out of the box.
Yeah.
They need to stay out of the box, too. We say that every series, basically. Humboldt, though, on the other side, might even have to do it even more disciplined. Because 5-on-5, I do favor, more than slightly, I do favor the Humboldt Broncos just in this matchup, just with their speed and the way they play, their puck pursuit. But Daza Mitchell combined with the special teams that has both been on an absolute tear. Humboldt can shoot themselves in the foot if they put Weyburn on the power play and then try to beat Daza Mitchell, who's got 950 save percentage. If you give up 2 power play goals, Daza might only let in 1, and then you're losing that game. So there is chances in this game. If Weyburn can stay out of the box, they can still compete with the speed. They don't get shell-shocked in the opening game. And Daza is Daza. That, yes, this series can go deep, 100%. I do see that possibility.
I spoke to Cody Mapes earlier today just to ask him what he thought about this series, and he said the big thing for us is to not get too high if we win a game or we have a good period and go into the intermission and just get too high. And if we lose game 1 and it's not pretty, don't get too discouraged and not get too low. It's about managing emotions. Cody is an emotional coach. The Wings are an emotional team. They got to manage those emotions, just like the Broncos do.
I'll say one thing, too, though. Yeah. Going for the Weyburn Red Wings, Crescent Point Place has had the heebie-jeebies for the Humboldt Broncos in the last 5 years. Weird things happen in that building where Humboldt just doesn't have their game. So, again, if they
Dwight McMillan curse on the Humboldt Broncos, I'm telling you.
Or a little bit of Nick Nielsen over there.
That building has just had some weird voodoo for Humboldt, so they're going to have to, they got to win. If they protect home, they don't have to worry about it, but then it's going to game 7.
Yeah.
So, but that building has just had some weird voodoo. It's going to be really fun.
They're 2 teams that are just so much fun to watch. So go out and get your tickets.
Yeah, you're not going to be disappointed, for sure. Can you bring up that comment from Craig Martinka again really quick? I've been saying this for a while now, but this SJHL first round has never been this interesting for a number of years. Every series seems like it has a possibility of either team winning. Great first round matchups. We all fully agree, Craig. That's one of the things that we've been talking about all season long is just how, and I talked about it with Kyle McIntyre last week on SJHL Insider, is the parity in this league this year coming down to essentially the last few weeks. There was almost 11 teams in the last month or so that could have made the playoffs this year. Obviously, L'Orange fell off at the end, obviously, but Nipawin and Yorkton were fighting to the last week and a bit. So, this league, very, very close all year long, and these teams are going to make it very interesting. And we've already talked about 3 of the series. We're still talking about one of them, obviously, here with Humboldt-Weyburn. We're not done yet, but Jamie, did you have something else you wanted to touch on really quick?
Well, I just have burning questions.
Yeah, let's get to burning questions. I was going to say, because the burning questions.
The burning questions for you guys to take home. Can either of these teams stay out of the penalty box? Both of them have deadly power plays, and both of them have had discipline and penalty killing issues lately as well. Who will win the goalie duel? I love the Ben Motu, Daza Mitchell duel. As we talked about, they're both wonderful. And I love those little matchups. I think about Max Manette versus Spencer Bell on the faceoff dot all series. I think that's going to be a doozy. But I think Tyler Teasdale and Nick Kovacs, they are going to see a lot of Travis Bryson and Spencer Bell and Cage Newens. That line has been so wonderful. What a powerful line. No fun for anybody for the Humboldt Broncos to top that lineup. So that matchup is going to be super fun because Kovacs and Teasdale have been super good and super underrated together as well.
We all had Nicholas Kovacs on our underrated team.
All underrated team, So that's going to be a very interesting sort of little matchup.
Love that matchup.
X Factors. Who do you guys think? Name a name.
Oh God, you're throwing me off guard.
Yeah, I know this is different because I didn't do this really for the first two series, but we did kind of because we said Owen Barrow for Estevan was going to be one and secondary scoring, but I worded it differently. Just X Factor. Jamie, we'll start with you. Who do you think? Did you throw a name out there? There's no wrong answers.
Yeah, I mean, you think about the way that a Landon Stromey plays for the Humboldt Broncos. So
very impressed with him that night in Notre Dame a couple weeks ago.
Sorry, what? He was impressive.
I was very impressed with him. His forechecking is crazy.
He can skate. He's really hard nosed. He just goes to the blue. We don't, again, the Bryson Bell line gets all the credit, and then obviously Boris Kaufman has really stepped up lately, and whatever. So there's a lot of other guys, Matthew Van Bee, obviously. So there's lots of guys for the Weyburn Red Wings to pay attention to. So for me, Landon Strome just feels like he's got some big goals in him.
I like that.
Yeah,
Rory,
I'll take Van Blaerkamp for the Humboldt Broncos there, just because that top line's going to get a lot of attention.
Yeah.
They do, right? They'll probably get the top pairing as well. So then you have guys like Kaufman, Van Blaerkamp, and Maddox Amaral that are going to
Maddox,
that are going to get a little bit less attention. But just stay out of the box for both teams. That's the X factor. Stay out of the box.
But a little fun game you can play at home. Pay attention when Spencer Bell and Max Manette take face-offs and keep track who wins more.
I'm sure they're all going to do that.
Because those guys are going to see each other a lot for big face-offs. And those two are the best.
And Max Manette might be the X factor for Weyburn. It's a player that was on the team last year that beat Battlefords in game 1, that knows how to go on the road and take down one of the top teams in the league. He's now one that knows how to fall in the next 4 games and doesn't want that to happen. That's the X factor for Weyburn. So one of those guys that know how to do it and want to do it more often.
Well, how incredible Daza can be is my X factor. I'll talk about Daza Mitchell all day and all night. So
I'm going to go with Jacob Vizentini just because I really like Jacob.
He's
Vizentini.
effective.
I'm a big fan of his, and I hope he has a great playoff series here, and we'll see how it goes. Prediction time. Jamie, I'm going to go back to you to start this one. Prediction time. Go for it.
I think it's going to be a tougher series than some people think, but I think the Broncos, they're just playing their best hockey that I've seen them play in a very long time. I'm going to say Humboldt in 6.
Yeah, I really, really think the battle-tested thing is going to show its face in the first 2 games. If Humboldt wins the first 2, Weyburn's in panic mode, and they probably think they need to win both at home. I say Humboldt in 5.
5. Okay, I can be contrarian again. I'm going to say the heebie-jeebies are going to come into huge effect, in so much so that it's going to carry over into one of the games early on in Humboldt, and Weyburn in 6 at home. I'm going to say that.
6?
Yeah.
They got to win.
I'm telling you.
They got to win 2 in Humboldt then?
Weyburn?
Yeah, the heebie-jeebies. The heebie-jeebies are going to just,
Weyburn's power play at Crescent Point Place is 28%.
That's good.
That is crazy.
Gusto of the box. What is it called?
The vote
poll. There you go. That's
on the website.
The poll between this series, it's actually identical with Flin Flon and Kindersley. 74% think Humboldt will win. 26% think Weyburn will win.
There you go. Okay, so there it is. Let's look at the schedule for this one. Again, Friday, Saturday start time kicks it off, I should say. Tuesday, Wednesday in Weyburn at Crescent Point Place. Friday back in Humboldt. Sunday again. Now this time is confirmed, I believe, 7 p.m. So Estevan and Melfort, they're still figuring theirs out. On Sunday for Game 6, in Weyburn at 7 p.m., I believe, and Tuesday back in Humboldt if necessary, of course. So there you go. That should be a fun series. I'm looking forward to that one a lot. Final series, we are getting into it now. The number 4 ranked Battleford's North Stars versus the number 5 ranked, the salacious matchup, Melville Millionaires. Battleford's ended the season with a 36-15 4-1 record. Melville 32-23 0-1. Not many overtime games, so if it gets to overtime, maybe Battleford's has an advantage. I'm not sure. Now this is the one that we're all going to look at, the head-to-head matchup, the series matchup in the season. Melville actually won this one 3-1. Battleford's won 2-1. So this series has a lot of storylines in it. 2 of the best coaches in the league, Braden Klamosko, Doug Johnson. Of course, Doug Johnson did get nominated for Coach of the Year. Braden Klamosko has won it like 1 million times in the last 3 years. I think 1 million times in the last 3 years. Yeah. Kean Bell, of course, he's up for a lot of awards. We'll get to him later in the show as well. And Caden Drury ended up leading the league, or leading the Melville Millionaires in points on Team Clark's fantasy team, by the way. Shout out Caden Drury. So let's get into it, guys. Rory, Rory, let's start with you. I'm going to keep going. Rory, let's start with you. That's the start of the show.
That's been an hour. We're done.
We're done. Bryce is playing us off. He wants us out of here. We're done.
He's had enough.
No, but Rory, let's go historically with you. When's the last time these guys have met in the playoffs?
2014 in the playoffs, and Melville won that series 4-1. So it's been 10 years between these two teams last meeting in the playoffs. In the season series, Melville 3-1. They won 3-1 back in September, early on in the year. 4-3, Melville won the second game in December. Battlefords then picked up their lone victory in January, 7-4. And then in February, Melville again at home, a 4-1 victory. So Melville coming in, winning the last series. Yes, 10 years ago. They won the season series this year, 3-1. And it's Melville's only their 3rd appearance in the playoffs since that year. In the last 10 seasons, they've only been in the postseason. This is now their 3rd time. And we saw what that building was like in Melville for the SaskTel Game of the Month. It was packed, and you could tell that the anticipation and excitement is back in Melville. We always know what it's like in Battlefords for the playoffs. It's going to be awesome, but excited for the Melville Millionaires to be back to the playoffs, and this is a heck of a series.
Yeah, I think both these teams are thinking back to that 2014 series. I think both these. What were they? What were they, like 6 years old? A lot of these players 6, 7 years old at that point.
It's a revenge series.
Yeah, the fans remember.
Maybe the only one.
The fans remember. But yeah, Jamie, I remember you specifically saying, and I think you said it kind of tongue in cheek, but at the same time, you said, I don't think Battlefords wants to play Melville in the first round. But I mean, a lot of teams don't want to play Melville. We talked about that several times. Now, Jamie, let's get to you. What's your bigger storylines coming into this one? I mean, we've talked about a couple. But
again, like I always go back to goaltending.
Yeah.
Logan Cunningham, he really figured something out in the last 3 games of the regular season. Boy, the Stars need to win those 3. I know they were in that race with Humboldt for a while there. It was a real neck-and-neck battle for that 3rd spot. We know who's going to be in net for Melville every second if everything goes to plan.
Yeah.
It is Mr. Will Dyke, 9-2-1 with a 178 goals against average and 935 save percentage in February and March for the big Newfoundlander / Lethbridge Albertan. Will Dyke in net there. We don't have that same certainty about what's going to happen in net in Battlefords. Obviously the Stars have plenty of firepower, led by Kean Bell, led by Ben Portner. The list goes on. They got weapons for days. They got power play for days. You look at the Melville special teams numbers and you wonder, how are they in the playoffs? Forget about 5th and a feared first-round opponent. How do they get in the playoffs with numbers like that? And a Doug Johnson team penalty killing like that? It's kind of strange. I think they've been a lot better lately. But that being said, this Melville Millionaires team is playing great hockey lately. And you know what, Clark, you said that I said, and you were right. Battlefords and Melville, it's a tough matchup right now for Battlefords. But I think maybe, Rory, tell me if I'm wrong, I think maybe this is the way Battlefords wants. People want to fall asleep on the defending champions, the team that was only a couple shifts short in the Centennial Cup final last year.
I think everyone, fans of the league, may be falling asleep on them based off trajectories. It's the 2 weirdest trajectories going in.
Yeah.
Doug Johnson and the Melville Millionaires are not falling asleep on the Battlefords North Stars, right? They're going to be ready for what Battlefords brings. This series is so interesting to me because it just has so many intertwining storylines that offset each other, and you're like, I don't know what's going to happen. Melville's the hotter team coming in, right? Battlefords had a little bit of slump. Melville, much better defensively recently. Battlefords allowing 4 goals or more in like 14 of the last 17 games. Battlefords, way better offense, way better special teams. Melville, way better defensive system, has played in more 1-goal games, more playoff-style hockey by Melville, right? It's very weird to which side is going to get the better hand because it's a flip a coin. And what do you like more? Do you like capitalize on your opportunities, smother neutral zone defense, and a better goalie in William Dyke? Do you like Kean Bell, high-octane offense, championship pedigree, and Kean Bell of the North Stars? Right? It's just, I don't know what hand to take. It's an ace-king.
You can argue yourself one way or the other.
Exactly, which makes it so interesting. It's just got so many weird intertwining storylines that really offset each other. Makes it interesting. Seems like a 7-game series.
Yeah,
well, it could be a sweep each way. It could be a 7-game series each way. I guess that's what you want for a 4 or 5, but.
Yeah, and I mean, one thing that I just find interesting, and I think it's one of your burning questions for later in this segment, Jamie, but Melville has 10 goal scorers this season. They're really very spread out. They're scoring by committee. You want to know how many 10 goal scorers Battleford's had? 13.
13,
They also score by committee, just a lot more.
Yeah, and a lot more offense from the blue line for Battleford.
Yeah, a lot. They have a ton of offense from the blue line. So, I mean, Jamie, I don't know if we want to get into your burning questions yet because I just kind of spoiled one of them, but what else kind of stands out for you with these 2 teams?
Yeah, I mean, I mentioned with the Kindersley Clippers, they had that core of guys that just haven't really been there and done that before, right? And the playoffs are a different animal. It's a different pace. There's ups and there's downs. And I think we've, from the start of the year, maybe to 3/4 of the way through, and then you'd have to be nuts to start doubting the Melville Millionaires at that point. But for the first 3/4 of the year, we all wondered, when will this team fall apart? When will they be for real? When will we, when will they be who we thought they were?
Yeah.
And that's, maybe not a playoff team, maybe for next year, maybe Doug Johnson's building something, yada, yada, yada. Now, we can't, in the regular season, they proved that they were something legitimate. That being said, the next hurdle for them, just like Kindersley with the Linklaters and the Hilbigs and yada, yada, is they got to prove it in the playoffs, which is a different animal. You know who has proven it in the playoffs? Brandon Klamosko and the Battlefords North Stars.
Yeah.
So the experience meter is way up here for Battlefords and way down here for the Melville Millionaires. One thing I will say, Will Dyke did go on a good playoff run in the OJHL last year. So, he does have that experience. It's not like, most of the rest of the Millionaires who don't have that same experience.
Their coach has some experience.
And that's where I was going. They both do. I mean, we talked about the Blevins versus Tarnik matchup. This is a very fascinating matchup.
Yeah.
Two terrific coaches, two guys that can coach at any level of hockey. Yeah. Two so different styles of coaching and of people. They're both great guys, but very, very different. I'm sure they have a lot of respect for each other. I'm sure they know each other very well. They've both been around the SJ forever. Should be very, very interesting. And I really don't know which way the series is going.
Yeah. So your prediction is going to be fun in a couple seconds.
Yeah.
But you look at Melville again. We talk about the experience factor. Caden Drury's their leading scorer.
Yeah.
Never been to the playoffs. Luke Beadall's a rookie, right? I mean, in the SJHL, I should say. Caden Drury's probably had playoff runs in other leagues. But Jaden Eogan, young Kai, Colby Ball, older, hasn't been to the playoffs, right? Yeah. None of these guys. And I think of Joel Mabin, had a little bit of playoff experience last year. And maybe a couple of other guys as well. I'm sorry if I'm leaving anybody out. But we look at a guy like Bradley Bannock, acquired at the trade deadline by these guys, right? And he's been so good for Melville since he's been acquired. I feel like that's the kind of guy that Melville's going to lean on right now as an older guy on their lineup who has had such a good back half of the season for them. Him and a guy like Joel Mabin, I think, are going to be so important.
Joel Mabin is the only guy who has had SJ playoff experience. It's only Joel Mabin.
Yeah,
well, I mean,
exactly.
And that's the thing. Like, I wonder, and I don't want to make any assumptions, but I wonder to what degree Tad Kozid and Nipawin is kicking himself a little bit in terms of, I know. I'm not saying he didn't like Joel Mabin or was happy to get rid of him. It was just a numbers situation up in Nipawin. But to trade Joel Mabin to Melville, whom Doug Johnson paid a pretty price for, I should say. That's been huge for Melville. Like, I talk about the soul, I talk about guts, I talk about character. Joel Mabin just has that in spades and in spades and in spades, and he has been huge in that Melville locker room. Yeah. Doug Johnson said, I had to have this guy. He doesn't have huge points, but I have to have him. I recruited him in Nipawin. Obviously, Doug then moved on from Nipawin, but brought Mabin back, and that says a lot about Mabin. So, you know what? Melville does have that guts in them. Again, they got to prove it when the playoffs come.
And they might have that youthful exuberance of we don't know any better, so we're just going to go out and win games.
I'm sure that's what they're hoping.
Why not? Who knows? But we talk about, and then we go to Battlefords, we talk about a guy like Bradley Blake, who's just like a playoff warrior type player. We talk about Jackson Allen, who had that great run with them last year, and he's in a bigger role now. Yeah. Guys like that.
Well, they
Rory,
have lots of experience. Yeah.
Do you think that it's maybe just going to be a case of maybe just too much?
Not the way Melville's playing.
No.
Not the way they played all year against the best teams in the league. We always think it's going to be too much for Melville, and they just prove us wrong every time. I know it's the first time, 80% of their team is in the playoffs, but that's exciting for the young team, right?
Exactly.
They got one of the coaches that has the most experience, so he's going to make sure they're dialed in. One more intertwining storyline. We always talk about Battlefords, how good they are with a lead. Melville has more wins than when leading after the first than the Battlefords North Stars do. There's just a thing about the Battlefords North Stars. They get better as the game goes on. Melville good with a lead to start. Battleford's good as the game goes on, scoring the most goals in the third period in the SJHL. So for the Melville Millionaires, if you're up 1-0 after the first, you're feeling good. You're up 2-0 after the first. Know that you're going to get the best Battlefords North Stars coming in the second and the third. So just, you got to continue to hold off or try to hold them off because they are tough.
102 third period goals this year. The second most, I think, had 85.
And it's their speed, right? Their speed and their defensive ability to move the puck quick. It wears you down. And that's why they're so good late in games.
250 goals altogether. So, a really good percentage of their goals are third period goals. Wow. Jamie, you want to just go through your burning questions really quick?
Sure. So how will the defending champ North Stars be able to use their vast advantage in experience? We talked about that. We know Will Dyke has the net in Melville. Who will get the lion's share of minutes in the Battleford's net between, again, remember, Logan Cunningham's an 18-year-old. He's
Yeah.
a 2005 birth year. Yes, he has Western Hockey League experience. I don't care. It's not important. They've got to play right now.
True.
That's the important point. Logan Cunningham's an 18-year-old. Matthew MacArthur is a 19-year-old. Which one of those guys will be in the battle for his net
Yeah,
when
and
the dust settles?
Cunningham played 17 games and MacArthur played 11. So
Yeah, who knows?
You would think, but who knows?
And then the last one, Doug Johnson's Mills can shut down anybody. We've seen that. But can they score enough goals against this Battleford's team? Because, again, Battlefords can score at will sometimes.
Yeah.
And the playoffs is a new day. It's a new world. And I'm sure that's
New day?
what Bladen Klamosko is very excited about right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's get into our predictions for this one. Rory, starting with you. Sorry. Apologies.
Who knows? Who knows?
The fans will win this series.
Battleford 7.
Yeah.
Battleford's in 7. No explanation necessary. Jamie?
Oh, gosh.
Say Melville so I
I'm
can.
going to say the experience factor, Kean Bell, etc. Battleford's also in 7, especially because Game 7 would be at the Access Communications Center.
Yes, so I'm going to be the contrarian because you guys both went Battleford. I'm going to say Melville, and I'm going to say it's going to go to like 6 overtimes in Game 7. Because it's going to be like a
Every game in
2-1.
overtime.
But
yeah, every game in
that
overtime.
wouldn't surprise me even a little
Yeah,
bit.
yeah. So there we go.
And just to
knows?
go back,
Who's keeping track of these picks, by the
Melville
way? I
doesn't-
didn't write these down.
Melville doesn't have a lot of overtime losses.
Right.
They actually won a lot of games
That's a
in
good point.
overtime.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Their overtime record,
I said
if
that
it does
earlier,
go
but that was a silly thing for me to say.
4 overtime wins, 0 overtime losses. Obviously, shootout doesn't matter. So in overtime, Melville's 4-0.
There you go.
Yeah.
And one game I think that they lost at home was against Flin Flon, and then Kenneth Marquardt stood on his head for Flin Flon against Melville, and the Mills pelted him with shots, and he stopped them all, and then Flin Flon won in a shootout. So
Can confirm Kenneth Marquardt won't be in this series, so that won't be a factor for this
but
one.
I'm just saying. But Rory's point is that Melville's good in overtime.
No, I know. I was agreeing with you.
Yeah.
And this is the best part. I mean, the SJHL website right now, Battleford says the people are voting 46% Battlefords, and more people are voting for Melville to win this series on the
upset,
website. So if you haven't voted yet, go to sjhl.ca. You can make your vote now. Because that's an interesting result. It's the only upset that the people have spoken.
The people.
So that's where we're at. Guys, any last thoughts? Because we're about to throw to a break here. Any last thoughts? Are you just...
I'm excited to get it going.
Yeah.
You know, I love being a broadcaster in the league, but for the fans that, bring out a monitor and a TV and they got all 4 games going, like I wish I could do that as well. Because, I just want to see a piece of every one of them. I'll have to go back after the Broncos and Weyburn games to watch highlights or bits of the other ones. But go to your rinks and watch flow hockey. These are all just amazing series. And there can be more than one upset. I would not be shocked.
Yeah.
And I should say on sjhl.ca right now, you can go and read playoff preview. All these burning questions that I threw are on there too with those graphics that we threw up. So if you want to be educated, impress your friends and family, go to check out sjhl.ca, and that playoff preview piece is on there now.
You know what I'm looking forward to is walking around the rink and hearing some of the fans kind of murmuring amongst each other, being like, hey, who do you think is going to be in net for the Estevan Bruins? Because I was reading the SJHL website, and that was one of the burning questions. And that's going to cause a lot of conversation amongst the rinks. But like these guys said, make sure you get your Flow Hockey subscription now. Now's the time. It's almost too late. You can always get it whenever you want, I guess. But get it now, because now's the time. Or, like I said, head to your rink right now in your local community. If you're in a SJHL community, buy tickets. Buy your tickets now. Get into these rinks, pack these places, because guess what? It's more fun for the players. It's more fun for you if it's packed. It's just more fun. So get out to these rinks. These are going to be a lot of fun at these rinks throughout the next, month and a half? But specifically in this first round. So get out there. We're going to take a break, and after the break, the presenting sponsor of the SJHL Playoffs is here, UPL Canada. They are here right now. We're going to be talking with Tony Dalgleish from UPL Canada after the break.
It's the 2023 model clearout at Capital GMC. Drum roll, please. 0% financing is back. For a limited time, finance rates are as low as 0% on select new 2023 GMC Sierras. CapitalGMC.ca.
Connecting with customers can be tough, but it doesn't have to be. At Direct West, we have the marketing tools and expertise to help introduce your business to the masses and help it grow. Connect with more customers. Direct West.
As a student, things can pile up fast. Ouch. But the RBC Student Banking Bundle makes back to school easier with up to $275 in value. That's a whole pile of takeout.
Today, online bullying is more common than ever, but there is help. SJHL wants to solve this problem. It's why they created Be Kind Online. If you're a victim of online bullying or know someone who is, or even if you just want to stop it from happening to anyone, this is a place to learn what you can do. You can find lots of tools and tips to help you stand up to cyberbullying. Be Kind Online is a place to learn how to stay safe as well, to learn best practices and plans to stop cyberbullying before it even has a chance.
Original 16. Celebrate things done well.
Sask Energy Network members are the best choice for natural gas solutions for your home or business. With comprehensive services like heating equipment maintenance, appliance installation, and in-store financing, they have natural gas solutions that go beyond heating to bring you the comfort, efficiency, and reliability of natural gas, both indoors and outdoors, all year long. For whole home natural gas solutions, network members burn brighter.
All right, welcome back inside the SJHL Weekly studios. We are joined now by a special guest, the presenting sponsors of the SJHL Playoffs as a whole, but also all of the broadcasts that we've been doing. As you can see, they're heavily represented on our set, UPL Canada, UPL Open Ag, all the companies. We have Tony Dalglish here joining me today. Tony, thanks for joining me.
All right, great to be here.
Absolutely. And UPL, again, has been involved now with the SJHL for a couple of seasons, but maybe tell us a little bit about your role, first of all, with the company, and then kind of a little bit of background about UPL as a whole.
Sure, yeah, so Tony Dalglish, so I'm the Canadian marketing manager, so I cover portfolio of products. We've got a range of crop protection products for all across Canada, so for my role, I actually cover basically everything from coast to coast. I'm in the horticulture segment, working with potatoes and fruits and vegetables in the Maritimes, as well as out on the West Coast, and then a little bit more localized here. We got a broad portfolio of products for Western Canada and row crop growers, canola, corn, pulses, soybeans, so on.
Yeah, nice, perfect. And again, I know that the UPL has been a big supporter of the SJHL, but how do you support Saskatchewan as a whole, I guess? I think thinking back, you said there's so many things here. How do you support Saskatchewan as a whole?
Yeah, so with our portfolio of products, we've got a great fit for the Saskatchewan grower, and we've got a team of reps based out of Saskatchewan. So we got about 6 or 7 people based in Saskatchewan alone, and dedicated to the Saskatchewan farmer. And then, as I say, working across all Western Canada and nationally.
Yeah, perfect. And I know you have a new product that you guys are pretty excited about because it is on the front page of our website. I know that, and that is Battalium herbicide. Can you talk a little bit about how excited you guys are about this?
Yeah, this is a new exciting product for us. We're calling it a relaunch of Battalium, and it's really tied well to the SJHL playoffs there. And like you say on the website itself, calling it the countdown to the playoffs. So when you look at the product, it's got 4 AIs. with 3 modes of action across 2 spectrums of weed, so in one convenient all-in-one package. So the link and the tie to the countdown to the playoffs really worked well for us. So really excited about it.
If somebody's interested in a product like that or learning more about it, like where's it, just the website? Is there a website for it? How would somebody find out more about that?
Yeah, the best place to go would be upl-ltd.com/ca. There's the website, or you can, on there's the rep locator. You can reach out to your local rep. They'll have all the details for you.
Nice. Perfect. Now, of course, again, we've been talking about your partnership with the SJHL. Again, you brought the presenting sponsor of all of our broadcasts, but also the playoffs in general. How important was it for you guys to get involved in junior hockey at this level, just in general for the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League?
Yeah, this has been great, and as you say, like our logo's been plastered all over the website and on the show here for the whole season, and probably a number of the viewers here have no idea who UPL is. So it's a great opportunity to get in here and tell a little bit more about the company. And you know, we were approached last year to be the presenting sponsor of the 2023 playoffs. It was a great experience for us, and really rolled that into the full season here. But for ourselves, partnering with an organization like the SJHL, where you've got commitment to the players, the communities, the development of the league, and that all of those things really align with UPL's values about developing good products, working with the communities that we are in, and ultimately just bringing a quality product to the end user, whether it's growers or the viewers.
Yeah, and as we've learned throughout the year as well, a lot of the players in our league are also farm families. They've, you know, they either work on a farm as a kid or they're going to go into the ag industry afterwards. And there's always such a great connection between Saskatchewan, hockey, farming, etc. I always find it such a good connection. And then I guess ongoing, how have you felt about this partnership so far? And like plans for the next, like what's up? What's coming up, I guess, for UPL?
Yeah, we're really excited about this. So as I say, it was a great first experience last year for the playoffs, made a commitment here. So we are committed to the SJHL here for the next couple of years and hopefully into the foreseeable future. And in the short term, excited about the playoffs. And, you know, we're still ironing out all the final details, but we are expecting to have a number of our local reps attending some of the games here in the first round or even deeper into the playoffs. So we'll have the reps there with some UPL swag to throw out into the crowd.
Nice.
So get some people excited about that and get some brand awareness at the same time.
Yeah, absolutely. That's exciting. And we always love swag. So, I mean, if you ever want to drop off some swag here at the office, I wouldn't say no to that either. Now, I'm not going to ask you to like break down the entire playoffs as a whole for me here, but do you have maybe a little prediction as to who you might see at the end, hoisting the trophy at the end?
Well, you know, you put me on the spot here. We've got you know, customers in all the communities that they.
So everyone's going to be mad at you, Tony.
Exactly, but you know, when I look at the first round, I think the top 3 seeds are in a pretty good position to move forward, and then you know, I'm going to call an upset with Melville in the first round, and then. Down the road there, I'm not sure where to go, but I'm a Manitoba boy, and I don't want to see Flin Flon lose 3 years in a row. So let's get it done this year.
They're due, maybe. That could be the case. So anyways, Tony, thanks so much for joining. Obviously, like massive thank you from all of us here. You know, I speak for Jacob, I speak for Rory and Nugsy and everybody involved in the SJHL. To all of UPL, not just yourself, but everybody, thank you so much for your work with our league, and we're excited to have you on for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, appreciate it.
All right.
Thanks.
Well, that's Tony Dalglish from UPL Canada. And of course, we are going to take a break, but we'll be right back because after the break, we're going to announce a bunch of awards. It's awards season, everybody. So there's a lot left in this show. Stay tuned.
The Chevrolet Silverado 1500. Advanced power and capability to tackle the long hauls. Style to make a statement on the streets. Visit ChevroletOffers.ca to learn more.
Increase your home comfort with high-efficiency natural gas equipment. Sask Energy offers rebates so you can lower your energy use and save money. For a list of rebates, contact a participating network member or visit saskenergy.com.
When you buy a lottery ticket in Saskatchewan, your money really goes a long way. More than 12,000 sport, culture, and recreation groups receive funding from Sask Lotteries every year. Everyone wins.
Thanks for helping me out and trying to protect me today. It's the kind of thing that, somebody comes out who's not ready, not prepared, and put into an awkward situation without somebody taking leadership and saying, hey, I'm going to protect you. It's going to shorten people's careers. And that's a big reason why we exist and, what drives us to do what we do.
They know how important their role is in the community, being a good leader, showing kids that there is a right and a wrong way to do things and leading the right way, being a positive role model to not just kids in the community, but anybody in the community.
Coach said a lot of great things that are really consistent with the values that we have at the SCSA and, respect for those around us, respect for those that we work side by side with, leadership, and part of that is being innovative and collaborative and solving problems together. Really, the last one that you touched on was integrity, doing what's right and doing it the right way. And those things just yield incredible results, not just in terms of making things safe, but really being productive and striving, whether it be in a game or in your life or in your business.
I think absolutely we try and fill the roles of all those values and just try to be the best people we can, really, not only for ourselves, but for our teammates and for the community around us.
Had a lot of fun today. Thanks, guys.
You're very welcome.
Thank you.
Original 16. Celebrate things done well.
Saskatchewan's far north is where the land itself inspires. It's the beauty and power of wilderness, the solitude of a place far removed from what you might know. When this landscape surrounds you, it's like nothing else. Come and let it awaken you, energize you. Come and create your story in our Northern Lights and Waterways. Saskatchewan.
All right, welcome back inside for our playoff preview and award special. If you missed the playoff preview portion, I mean, there was a lot of it. So just go back and watch it after we're done here. But this is the awards section now. Guys, it is time to announce the year-end award winners. One of the more exciting times of the year because it's so fun to celebrate all the great accomplishments for these individual players. We're going to start, yes, with the highlight of the Tourism Saskatchewan Highlight of the Year, though. This one was voted on by you, the fans. And there was 4 nominees. This was, I'm just going to go into it right now. This was the winning highlight of the year. I'm not even going to say who it was. It's going to be a surprise. Let's go now.
But Connor Miller will step away. Nice move by Miller. Beautiful pass. Beautiful finish. What a goal. Maddox Amaral makes it 2-2 on an absolutely highlight reel. Beauty by the Humboldt Broncos.
That was disgusting. Oh my, Connor Miller.
I think you guys both said what you wanted to say already because that was you guys on the call for that one.
It was Nick.
Oh, it was Nick. Yeah. Sorry, Rory. Sorry, that was an insult to Rory saying
on
that
the
was
call.
Nick.
Oh, no, that wasn't me.
It was me, though.
It was Jamie.
It was Neugebauer on the call. It was Nick Nielsen was beside him. Anyways, unbelievable play by Connor Miller of the Humboldt Broncos. Between the legs, kind of behind the back, and then he passes it over, makes a great play. The other candidates, Harmon Laser-Hume and Adam Kelly were the other ones. It was the goalie duel, back and forth goaltending saves. Cody Jamin with an unbelievable play as well with the Kindersley Clippers. Really nice clip there too by Connor Tate. And on top of that, it was Jerome Maharaj, with a really great assist in Weyburn as well. But Connor Miller, Rory, your boy.
Yeah.
Your Humboldt Broncos. That was
Lipton's
a great
finest.
play way back in November at the showcase.
I love me some Connor Miller. He's an exceptional talent playing in his rookie season right now. Going to be some big things coming from him in the future. But I do, you got to give props. It was IKS Media on the film crew capturing that beautiful video with
Bryce,
the
you were
replays,
there.
and it was Neugebauer on the
Bryce
call.
wasn't there.
So I think that those both helped in terms of Miller getting the vote nod ahead of the other three unbelievable plays that were nominees. But I think everyone's got to pat themselves on the back. Nugzy for the call, IKS for the feed, and Connor Miller and Maddox Amaral for the goal.
Yeah.
And Nick Nielsen, right after I finished talking, just said that was disgusting or something. So
for some reason I thought that was
all
you, but
around.
it
It was just a great package.
Yeah, great pack. Everybody wins. All right. It is time now to get into the actual awards themselves. And of course, before we do that, for each one, we're going to just remind you who the nominees were. And then we're going to throw it to our commissioner, Kyle McIntyre, who's going to actually give you guys who the winners are. So we'll start off with the Star Egg Most Sportsmanlike Player. Let's remind everybody of the nominees. Mason Buchert of the Larange Ice Wolves, Jaden Aogan of the Melville Millionaires, Evan Forrest of the Nipawin Hawks, Ben Portner of the Battlefords North Stars, and Zach Summers of the Melfort Mustangs. So to announce our winner, let's go now to Commissioner Kyle McIntyre.
The winner of the 2023-2024 Star Egg Most Sportsmanlike Player of the Year from the Larange Ice Wolves is Mason Buchert. Buchert, a Saskatoon native, posted 20 goals and 62 points while taking only a meager 12 minutes in penalties, 10 of which were in equipment misconduct in January. Congratulations, Mason, on an outstanding season.
I forgot about that part, that most of his penalty minutes were just a equipment malfunction or whatever it was. I think it was a neck guard violation or something.
One minor penalty all year.
Playing for Kevin Kaminsky.
In Larange.
Yeah.
Playing for Kevin Kaminsky.
Not even a second stick infraction where, you go for a puck in the corner and you trip those things happen by accident.
Yeah.
And he had one. That's incredible. Everyone was deserving of a nominee, but that was Mason Buchert's, I think, runaway with his Sportsmanlike Player of the Year. What a player and what a year.
Yeah, it led the Ice Wolves in scoring, and I should say his one minor was a 2-minute high-sticking penalty in the second period.
Probably an accident.
Against Larange in March.
At the end of the year.
In March. That
At the
was
end
his
of
one
the year.
minor. So, and he plays a lot for Larange.
A lot. He's a top 6 forward. He's out there all the time. So congratulations to Mason Buchert on that one. We're going to go on to the Direct West Rookie of the Year. Let's remind everybody of the nominees for the Rookie of the Year. Travis Bryson of the Humboldt Broncos, Luke Beadall of the Melville Millionaires, and Carson Olsen of the Battlefords North Stars. Let's go now to Commissioner Kyle to announce the winner.
The winner of the 2023-2024 Direct West Rookie of the Year from the Battleford North Stars is Carson Olsen. Carson is a commitment at UMass Lowell of the NCAA Division I. Olsen finished this season with 30 points and an impressive plus 23 rating. The 2006-born Warman native was also the only one of 2 rookie defensemen to hit double digits in goals this season. Congratulations, Carson, on an outstanding season.
So we've talked a lot about Carson Olsen throughout this season. We've talked a lot about his partner, Tanner Golden, how much of an impact he has had on Carson. But Jamie, maybe I'll start with you on this one. Warman is pumping out a lot of hockey players. There's more than one coming up here. But what can you tell me about Carson Olsen?
Yeah, as you said, great mentorship. I think Rory used that word talking about Carson maybe a week ago, 2 weeks ago, when we were talking about the nominees. Look, this kid's got some snarl to his game. He's one of the 2 rookie defensemen that had over 10 goals. I believe Ben Costantino of the Humboldt Broncos was the other, but he's an 06. He's already committed D1 to UMass Lowell. A lot of eyeballs on this kid, and what I really like about him is he's got lots of talent, lots of skill, but he's not a shrinking violet. He's a physical kid too.
Yeah, absolutely physical. And when it comes down to rookies, we've seen it over the last handful of years. Age has weight. When you're 2 years younger than one and 1 year younger than the other, playing defense, top line pairing, that's going to go a long way to getting the votes. And Carson Olsen, what a season! And UMass has to just be so happy with him playing in Battleford, playing on the top pairing, going up against top forwards, partnered with Tanner Gold. He's just getting so much experience. That was a heck of a rookie year for Carson Olsen.
And plus 23.
Yeah, and he could have a huge playoff run as well. He could be a huge impact on that series and however long Battlefords does end up going. Let's move on now to the Borgo Forward of the Year. Let's remind everyone of the nominees. The Bells, Spencer Bell and Kean Bell, Humboldt and Battlefords respectively, and Justin Lees of the Flin Flon Bombers. Some very good candidates. This could go anyway. And there's probably some other ones that didn't get nominated. However, let's go to Commissioner Kyle now for the winner.
The winner of the 2023-2024 Bourgeot Forward of the Year with a league-leading 57 assists and 94 points from the Battleford North Stars is Kian Bell. Bell is the first player to win the scoring race in back-to-back seasons since Travis Meehan of the Melfort Mustangs, when he did it in 2014 and 2016. Congratulations, Kian, on an outstanding year.
Yeah, congratulations, Kian. And, you know, he's had such a huge impact on this league in the last 2 seasons. Rory, can you just give me a snippet of how good Kian Bell is?
Yeah, he's the most cerebral player, I would say, in the SJHL. His ability to get lost, get open, find his teammates, or put the puck in the back of the net himself, I think is second to none. He can change a game in many, many different ways, but again, thinks the game at an elite level. And I will say, Marty Martinson, get your laptop out, because already 2 awards for the Battleford's North Stars. You're probably busy, and I expect 14 articles to come from Marty now that the Battleford's North Stars has picked up a Forward of the Year and a Rookie of the Year.
He works hard, yeah. 57 assists for Kian. So consistent, so impressive. I was saying, when Battleford's need someone to come up with a big night, Kian dusts off that cape, and he's Superman again. So if you count out the Stars and Kian Bell right now in the playoffs, you're making a big mistake.
Congratulations, Kian Bell, on another fantastic season. Let's get now to the Super U Defenseman of the Year. Let's remind everybody. Chase Frietmore of the Melfort Mustangs, Noah Houle of the Flin Flon Bombers, and Alex Isaac of the Battleford's North Stars. Could Marty Martinson have another article in the waiting? Let's go to Commissioner Kyle now for the announcement.
The winner of the 2023-2024 Super U Defenseman of the Year with a leading 68 points from a blue liner is Noah Houle from the Flin Flon Bombers. Houle's 68 points are the most by a defenseman in the SJHL since Josh McDougall of the Nipawin Hawks posted 74 in the 2017-2018 season. Noah is committed to Lindenwood University of the NCAA Division I. For next season. Congratulations, Noah, on an outstanding season.
Yes, an outstanding season is an understatement. He led the league in scoring by a defenseman for most, if not all, of the season. Unbelievable, real huge driver of production for Flin Flon. Jamie, Noah Houle.
Yeah, they keep posting highlights against Notre Dame. Anyways, really impressive season. Obviously, he had a great little stint last year coming in from the CCHL, but he's been dominant from start to finish. The puck's just always on his stick. 68 points is a lot. You probably remember Josh McDougall a little bit. He was unbelievable for Nipawin. So to kind of approach that, I know Josh is playing pro now, so not too shabby. And obviously, those bloodlines obviously matter. Donnie Houle Villeneuve, his brother, having a great career at the University of Maine. So maybe they'll come up against each other at D1. So really happy for Noah, and well-deserved.
Yeah, and
racking up points for Team Rory on the fantasy as well. We'll have to
That's the important part.
We'll have to put a final tally on Twitter, because I didn't do that before the show. We had too much going on. But yeah, if you put up the most points in the SJHL in the last 6 years, you know, you're probably going to come home with the award. And 68 points is really impressive for Noah Houle.
Yeah, pretty good player. And Lindenwood is excited. They got a good
Another SJ kid.
Another SJ kid.
Yeah. Obviously, Jaden Mercier there.
Yeah, congrats again to Noah. Let's move on to the SaskTel Goalie of the Year and remind everybody of the nominees. Harmon Laser-Hume of Flin Flon, Daza Mitchell of the Weyburn Red Wings. We've talked about him a lot today. And James Venn of the Melfort Mustangs. Let's go now to Kyle McIntyre for the announcement.
The winner of the 2023-2024 SaskTel Goaltender of the Year from the Flin Flon Bombers is Harmon Laser-Hume. Harmon finished in the top 3 in league wins, goals against average, and shutouts. Laser-Hume was also the SaskTel Goaltender of the Month back in November. Congratulations, Harmon, on an excellent season.
And I think the craziest part is, as you look at his final numbers of the season, they were better like a week ago. Like they were like really good. I think he had a 208 goals against or something and a 935 or something going into the last couple games. And they just happened to score a couple goals on him in the last few games. It actually increased his stats to end the season. So guys, Harmon Laser-Hume, very underrated player in Nugsy, right?
Yeah, I mean, nobody will let me live that down when I put him on my underrated team. I thought I gave a good reason.
It was a good reason
that day, so you can go back and watch that show. But yeah, look, Harmon's got all the tools you want. You know, he's big enough, he's athletic enough. to play at a D1 level. There's no question in my mind. And you know what? I didn't give him enough credit for how good of a year Flin Flon has had. I talk about the weapons, talk about the Noah Hools and the Anthony Baxes of the world on the back end. But big reason as well is Harman Laser Human. Yes, Kelly, I asked you to change that graphic. I'm sure you laughed when I said, put Harman out there. But you know what? Harman deserves it. So there you go.
930 save percentage over the course of a season. That's not a stretch of a couple of weeks. That's incredible.
Yeah.
Really good.
Really good. And you know what? Just a small honorable mention, shout out to his goaltender tandem partner, Kenneth Marquardt, who also had very good numbers on the year, and excited to see him back next year.
You often see the best goalies in any league are someone that has a really good backup or secondary option, because you're not just competing out them to get the net. You're pushing each other every day to get better, to keep the net. Right? So, and that's what Kenny Marquardt did, who had an amazing season himself. But I'm sure Harman benefited on having a goalie like Kenny as his 1B option.
Big time.
Yeah, so anyways, great season, Harman. And you know what? We'll see what happens in these playoffs, because I'm sure he'll be tested a few times, and he's going to have a big impact for the Flin Flon Bombers. Let's move on now to the Cantera Seeds. Shout out to Cantera again. Saskatchewan, Player of the Year. A couple of Humboldt Broncos, Matthew Van Blaircom and Spencer Bell, and Logan Linklater of the Kindersley Clippers. Let's head now to Commissioner Kyle for the announcement.
The winner of the first ever Cantera Seeds Saskatchewan Player of the Year, awarded to the top Saskatchewan player in the league from the Humboldt Broncos and Warman, Saskatchewan, is Spencer Bell. Spencer led the SJHL in goals this year with 47 and finished second in points by only a few to Kean Bell with 88. Bell is committed to the St. Lawrence University of the NCAA Division I for next year. Congratulations, Spencer.
47 goals on the year, and guess who called each and every one of them? Rory McGouran. Rory, Spencer Bell.
Yeah, he's just an absolute phenom. Workhorse, power forward, all three zones, all three responsibilities, power play, penalty kill, even strength, led the league in goals. There's nothing really now that he has top tier speed that he can't do. He can outmuscle you in the corners. He can burn you down the wings. Obviously, his shot is elite. He just puts in so much work, and the most valuable player on the Broncos. What a season for Spencer Bell. I can't wait to see him. I know he's 20, but as his career moves on and what he does in NCAA Division I, because that's a player that every team wants. Just responsibility. There's no part of the game that's lacking. He can go anywhere and do exactly what you need. And if you need him to score goals, he's done that for the Broncos this year.
Yeah, it's so consistent. I think he had about 20 more points than any other Humboldt Bronco, too, something like that. But so consistent. He's the knock or the question mark, whatever it was, coming out of Blackfalds and the AJ, from whom the Broncos got him for essentially nothing. What a job by Scott Barney to make that trade, sending the rights to Tristan Boileau to Blackfalds. Unbelievable for him to get that return. Was his skating, but he has worked on it. He's not slow at him anymore. He can fly, especially in a straight line. He's got that power forward speed. Once he gets his stride going, he's unstoppable. He's very strong and doesn't miss in front. He's so clinical. Spencer Bell, been a treat, and I'm glad we have the Saskatchewan Player of the Year now to honor Spencer, so that he's not beaten out, because he deserved something this year.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying it's an award we're just throwing to him because he deserves it, but I'm glad we have this award too to recognize Saskatchewan.
Well, it's always going to be cool for him too. He's the first ever Cantera Seed Saskatchewan Player of the Year in the SJHL.
Yeah. And
no one can take that away.
As you said, Clark, they are making some kids in Warman.
Yeah. Warman's got it going on right now. Whatever it is about Warman.
What's in the water?
Exactly. And you know what? Just one more note about Spencer. Over 100 points since being acquired by the Broncos.
Yeah.
So very
For
good. For
nothing,
very good.
pretty much.
Very good trade. Scott Barney, well done.
Way to go.
Well done. Speaking of coaches, let's move on to the Saskatchewan Construction Safety Association Coach of the Year, the longest award title of all of them. Doug Johnson of the Melville Millionaires, Clayton Jardine of the Kindersley Clippers, and Mike Reagan of the Flin Flon Bombers. This could go any way. Let's go now to Kyle McIntyre for the announcement.
The winner of the 2023-2024 Saskatchewan Construction Safety Association Coach of the Year this year is from the Flin Flon Bombers, Mike Reagan. Reagan, the Flin Flon local, guided the Bombers to a club-high 44 wins and their third Sherwood Division title in the last 4 years. The Bombers were the #1 seed in Canada throughout the CJHL for most of the season, and this is the first time in Mike Reagan's coaching career that he has won the award. Congratulations, Mike, on an outstanding season.
I think I heard a collective woo out of Flin Flon, all the way from here. They are excited. Mike Reagan has finally gotten his due for Coach of the Year. 17 years as coach, first time winning. I was shocked when I heard that. Rory, Mike Reagan.
Yeah, there was, I know Clayton Jardine and Doug Johnson were in the voting for taking younger teams and bringing them back to the playoffs, the 2 longest droughts, right? And very well deserving of it. But I don't think there was really ever taking it away from Mike Reagan. Yeah, the oldest team in the SJHL, but 44 wins on the year, first place, basically wire to wire. That's, and you gotta, you still got to coach the older, more experienced players. You still got to get them to work together. You got to get them to play 56 games and to win 44 of them. Heck of a job, and I think very deserving of his first ever Coach of the Year award.
Yeah, and you look at certain metrics, and certain statistics. You put a real talented group of guys together. They're probably going to score goals. They're probably going to have a good power play. But this Flin Flon team does not give up goals. They've got a great penalty kill. They have the puck the whole game. They start games, they end games well. Little details that this Flin Flon Bombers team has that you need good coaching from kids that are bought into the coaching. And the last thing I'll say is he talks about his team's practices. He sometimes has to stop them and pause them because the Bombers are trying to kill each other on the ice. in terms of the physicality, the compete that they have, clearly, Mike Reagan, and I'm sure he would also say that Cole McKegg deserves credit behind him as his assistant. 2 terrific human beings, first and foremost, 2 terrific coaches. Really, really happy for a good friend of all of ours, Mike Reagan, and couldn't be more well-deserving.
Knowing Mike, I've known Mike now since 2014, and I'm sure he's deflecting as much of this as he possibly can because he is that humble of a guy. So, again, huge congratulations to Mike, well-deserved. I'm sure Flin Flon is jumping up and down right now. They're pumped. SGU MVP. This is the last one of the day here. Let's remind everyone, Kean Bell of the Battlefords North Stars, James Venn of the Melfort Mustangs, and Spencer Bell of the Humboldt Broncos, all 3 very deserving nominees. Drum roll, guys. Let's go to Commissioner Kyle now for the announcement.
The winner of the 2023-2024 SGEU MVP of the Year from the North Battleford North Stars is forward Kean Bell. Kean wins the award for the 2nd season in a row and helped the Stars from around 500 hockey to start the year to a record of 30-10-4 since he returned in late October. Truly an MVP. Congratulations, Kean, on a great season.
Yeah, I think Commissioner Kyle nailed it there with simply when you think of value and you think of where they were when he wasn't there and where they've been since, Kean Bell. I mean, Jamie, I'll start with you. We already talked about him quite a bit, but this guy just continues to impress everybody.
Yeah, I mean, they were 30-10-4 since they got him, and they had a 6-game losing streak near the end of the year. So what does that say about the bulk of the year since they got Kean Bell? Look, we talked about it, the consistency, obviously the hockey bloodlines. His uncle is a legend in Battlefords. His mom is a Canadian women's hockey legend as well, Fiona. So obviously got the bloodlines and a wonderful family. Wonderful young man, carries that Battlefords crest with such passion, cares so much about the Stars winning. It's not at all about Kean. He just wants to win for the Battlefords people in the community. So again, a very deserving, great ambassador for the league and for Battlefords. And yeah, just a terrific player. And honestly, just from a hockey fan's perspective, I'm going to miss watching him whenever this season is done for Battlefords because he's been such a treat.
Yeah. Roy, anything else?
Yeah, just very cool to win both MVP and forward back-to-back years. And the discrepancy for when he's out of the lineup to when he's in the lineup is why he won this award.
Yeah.
I don't think it's because he led the league in points. It's because of how valuable he is to his team. Yes, he did lead the league in points. But yeah, when he's not in the lineup, are they a 500 team? When he is in the lineup, as Newsy said, minus that 6-game losing streak, they're 30-4.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, I remember one of the huge storylines coming into this season, guys, from you guys and also when me and Jeremy were doing Insider was who's going to replace the 6,000 goals that the North Stars have lost since last season with Kean Bell and Holden Dole and Kessler. Kean Bell. Kean Bell replaced all those goals.
And elevated Ben Portner and elevated Brad Blake and elevated guys around him.
Yeah, so value is an understatement. So congratulations again to Kean Bell. And you know what? Congratulations to all of our winners this year. That was all of them there. What a season. Super proud of everybody. And just a shout out to all of the nominees who didn't win, but also all the guys who made the decisions very, very hard that weren't even nominated. There was a lot of really hard decisions and discussions that went into the nominees and then the eventual winners as well. So congrats to everybody around the league, because that was it's been an exceptional season. It's been a lot of fun. So guys, that's it for the awards. We've done our previews. Everybody can go back and watch the previews. We're not going to go into them all over again, but I guess just quickly, what are you guys excited about? What's your top thing that you really are looking forward to this weekend as we get into it?
Playoffs are here.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't need to pick a series anymore. I love all four. And also no one, if you kind of look at it, I'm sure some people have, not one team benefits in the first round travel-wise.
Right.
All teams have to go far distances across the province. So there isn't a close series where the team that comes out of that really benefits for travel. Everyone's moving. So these are just four great matchups. So go to your rinks is what I'm taking away.
Go to your rinks.
Pack the rinks. SJHL playoff hockey is the best type of hockey, and I can't wait to get it going in 2 days.
Yeah, you said it all. Three north versus south, one very far east versus west. I looked it up. About 8 hours and 10 minutes drive between Kindersley and Flin Flon. Yeah. So enjoy your Netflix or whatever it is, Kindersley and Flin Flon players. I'm sure the Flin Flon players are experts at traveling at this point. You better be if you're going to play for Flin Flon. But it's been a blast covering the playoffs. The storylines wrote themselves for us this show. And just go out to the games, have fun, buy your 50/50s. And support, because it's going to be a fun atmosphere wherever you go.
Yeah, get loud. If you can't get it to the rink, of course, make sure you get your Flow Hockey subscription or follow along to our social media channels regardless. You don't have to if you go to the rink, still follow along to our social media channels. Our Facebook, our Twitter account, our Instagram, our TikTok are all on the bottom of the screen there. And also, of course, follow us, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Where all of the highlights are going to be posted. Our revamped looked highlights, by the way. We're going to have some new animations and graphics for you on YouTube coming into the playoffs. So stay tuned there. And of course, one more big thank you to our sponsors. A huge shout out to UPL, of course, who we talked to Tony earlier on in the show. So a huge shout out to them. Borgo, Cantera Seeds, of course, sponsor of the Cup. Behind me here, Capital Automall, Chevrolet, Great Western, Nutrien, RBC, Saskatchewan Construction, Safety Association, Sask Lotteries, Tourism Saskatchewan, Sask Energy, SGEU, and SGI. Huge shout out to them as we get into this playoff season. We all just hope that you guys enjoy it. You people, I should say, enjoy it. Get excited. Get out to the rink. Get your tickets. Next week, our regular broadcasting schedule is back. So Monday, these guys will be back in these chairs as we break down games 1 and 2 and queue up games 3 and 4, which will be Tuesday and Wednesday across the league. Then on Thursday, Nugesy's going to hop into my chair over here, an SJHL Insider. We're going to break down game 3 and 4 and then pump up games, 5 and 6. And then depending on the series, on Monday after that, we'll be back to break it all down again. So the regular schedule is back as of Monday. We are excited. I know these guys, I'll speak for you guys a little bit here. We're all excited to just see the puck drop on all 4 series. So get out to the rink, have some fun, but until then, enjoy the hockey, everyone.